Welcome to the Well Woman Show, where we interview women executives, leaders, and entrepreneurs.
And you're listening to the Well Woman Show,
where motivated women achieve fulfillment and well-being.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show.
Take time for myself by coming to things like Well Woman Drinks.
To be accepting of myself no matter what. Step away from judgment as much as possible.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show.
You're going to be in for a good ride. I don't regret anything. Everything I've ever done, I've learned from it, one way or another, good or bad.
Being a little bit selfish for yourself, put your own oxygen mask on first and then give what's left.
I'm a woman. I would prefer to tell my own story. My story, though it's very personal, is universal.
You're listening to the Well Woman Show. And now your host, Giovanna Rossi.
Hi, Giovanna Rossi here, and welcome to another episode of the Well Woman Show, where I interview women leaders, executives, and entrepreneurs about their lives and their road to becoming and being who they are today. Are you at the top of your game professionally but feeling burned out? Or finding it hard to focus on your goals? Or unfulfilled personally? Or are you in transition, simply juggling so many things you find it hard to take care of your own needs? Well, you're not alone. We all need to activate the 4 universal superpowers. These are the internal strengths and abilities we all already have but don't use all the time. Superpowers can be cultivated, and they include awareness, intuition, action, and acceptance. Toward the end of the show, in a segment called Superpowers for Success, I ask my guest about her superpowers, and the answers will give you the strength, perspective, and power to live a well woman life. I'm so happy you're here, so thanks for tuning in. This episode of the Well Woman Show is brought to you by Collective Action Strategies, supporting organizations that support women and families, and by Well Woman Life Movement Challenge Quiz, your resource for living your best life. If you're in burnout or major transition, this is your time to figure out what's holding you back from making the changes you need to make in order to live your fullest, most joyful life. The cause of all of our challenges, personal or professional, can actually be rooted in the lack of internal superpowers and or external supports. Our Well Woman Life framework tells you which stage of the Well Woman life cycle you're in and what to do about it so you can truly live your best life. You can find out more at wellwomanlife.com/quiz. I'm so thankful for support from Natural Awakenings magazine in New Mexico, a monthly green, healthy lifestyle publication, and for support from High Desert Yoga, promoting optimum physical health, clarity of mind, and spiritual inspiration for all. Hello, well women. It's Giovanna here, coming to you on my kids' first day of school. I don't know how many of you are also going through that, but it's like, how many reams of paper would you like? Yes, have all the supplies you want. Take my children. No, we've had a great summer, but it is really nice to get them off to school, and they're excited about it. So it made me think about, people say, oh, it just goes so fast. Can you believe they're in 1st and 4th grade? And I've reflected on that a lot over the years because people say it so much. It's like, it's a real thing, this business of how fast time flies. And I wanted to kind of research that and get to the bottom of it because so many people say, they wake up one day and they're like, where did the last 20 years go? Or, how is my kid in high school? And I think that it's something that happens to everyone. And if you're not mindful about your life and your time, you do wake up and say, oh my gosh, what happened? And so I think it's a practice, a lifelong practice of being mindful and not having regret. So, not regretting missing the time, because actually you didn't miss it. You did have the time. It's just that maybe you weren't as mindful of it as you could be. And so when we really integrate a mindfulness practice into our lives, we sort of remember the moments better. And that's really the only way I can think to explain it in terms of how I have dealt with that. And I'm super excited because we are going to be delving into this topic at the Well Woman Life Superpower Retreat in September. We're going to talk a lot about awareness and acceptance, both of which really require a deep, alignment with mindfulness. And we are going to share tools and different things so that it's not overwhelming, but so that it's really manageable in our busy lives, because we're all incredibly busy, not just with our families, but with creating, good in the world and providing our service in the world. So if you haven't checked out wellwomanlife.com/retreat 2018, definitely check it out. We have amazing speakers lined up this year, and I'm super excited about that. And on the show today, I have Jodi Aman, who is going to talk about crushing self-doubt, another fine topic for the Well Woman Life community, and another topic that, frankly, we talk about and dig into at the retreat. Jodi has been a therapist for 20 years, and she shares with us today her take on crushing self-doubt and gaining confidence. And I think you'll really enjoy it. So stay tuned for Jodi Aman. I'm speaking with Jodi Aman this morning. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
So, Jodi, as we heard in the introduction, you have been a psychotherapist for over 20 years, and you have come out with a book that we'll talk about, and you're doing lots of different things. I wanted to start off by asking you, what are you working on, and how does it impact women's lives?
Well, I see myself as somebody who inspires hope for people, that things can change, that things don't have to stay the way they are. Because I think a lot of people, the biggest problem is we're stuck. We're stuck in feelings of fear or guilt, and we really don't know where to turn. We're kind of going around in circles in a lot of ways. And so through my YouTube channel and through my books, I try to give people an understanding of what's going on so that they can see the way out. I think that's my biggest mission in life.
Okay, and so how do you do that?
Oh, like I said, so through my YouTube channel, books, I'm a psychotherapist, so I work one-on-one with people also. And so just through social media, anytime I could get that message out there to really help people understand what's going on in their minds, I'm up for it.
Okay, and so do you work with men and women, or do you have a specific focus on women?
Actually, no, I work with all genders and all ages, except for a lot of times women are just more apt to go to psychotherapy, and more interested in development. I think because we're kind of coming to this time in our life that we're kind of sick and tired of being sick and tired, of everything going on. And we're really looking for a change. And I really see women as, a lot of strength to carry that burden, to kind of be leaders in this area of making these changes that we really need in the world. And so my message is quite often to women, because I know that they can pick up that torch, and I have a lot of hope in them.
Yeah. And so a lot of times women deal with something that you talk about a lot, which is self-doubt, and just really, lacking that sort of inner confidence and trust in themselves. Can you talk about that and in the way that you talk about it to the people that you work with, in terms of how to, what is self-doubt? Why do we have it? And what do we do about it?
Okay, so the biggest reason why we have self-doubt is because we have a culture of social norms that things that we have to measure up to. So we have these expectations to be young and pretty and perfect and the perfect mom and successful and rich and gorgeous. We have to be like these perfect people, the people that you see on social media. And we're constantly comparing ourselves and finding ourselves less adequate than everyone else we see. Because we don't see their insecurities inside. We see their outside, which seems so confident and happy and great. And we think we're the only ones that are different. And so that comparison, when we constantly are inadequate and failing to be, okay, normal, whatever, enough, we just fail to be enough. And so that really creates a petri dish for self-doubt to come in anything we do in the future, because we don't have much faith in ourselves when we think we're inadequate. We don't trust ourselves to handle things. And so anything we try to attempt, that doubt comes up and it stops us right in our tracks.
Yes, that happens a lot. And so what do you suggest to women, to sort of overcome that?
Well, first of all, if they're aware of it, if they see that, because we are blaming ourselves, we think we are the problem. Like we're weak, we're depressed, we're insecure, we have low self-esteem, and we don't see it as a cultural phenomenon. And that could take a little. So when we see it's ourself as the problem, then we just are harder on ourselves and judge ourselves even more harshly, and the whole cycle continues. But if we saw it as a cultural problem, then we could challenge some of those expectations that we have. We could say that's ridiculous. Being perfect is unreasonable, and it's, it never gets you anywhere trying to be perfect. It just causes suffering. And we could kind of decide not to compare ourselves like that anymore, not to expect these high things, and take those expectations down to realistic things and have a lot more compassion for ourselves. So that's the first thing, is understanding the context of it and then having more compassion for yourself. And that's a huge step forward.
Mm. Yes. And awareness is such a big part of any, addressing any problem, right?
Exactly.
Because we have to
because we say why. Yeah. We get so distracted by the why. Why are we like this? Why are we like this? Why is this happening? And it's freaky too, because we don't know why. If we're anxious or having panic attacks, when we don't know why that's happening, it's even more scary. Mm. And it just increases the problem. So if we could explain to people, this is why you feel that way exactly, then they're like, oh, it takes the mystery right out of it. And it takes that whole distraction of this why out of it, and the negative self-judgment that comes with it, and they could go forward in healing. So awareness is huge. I agree.
Yeah. I have a framework that I use in my work in the Well Woman Life community, and awareness is the first step. Yeah. And
we have to see our fears to get rid of them too,
Yeah. And then the second stage in my framework is intuition. And so I think that you probably talk about this as well, maybe in different terms, but really building that self-trust and tuning into your inner wisdom and knowledge in order to overcome, whatever the challenge is.
Exactly. Yes. I do teach spiritual principles that help people align with that inner wisdom. And it's, it settles us and calms us and makes us much more content. Like we understand the world, but then we understand ourselves and our response to it. And this world's not so scary if you practice those things, if you start to trust yourself. So I agree.
Well, so Jodi, do you have an example of like a daily practice that people can use moving forward if they're challenged with this?
Yes. Okay. You know how when someone hurts your feelings, you kind of go over the conversation in your head over and over, like you tell them how they hurt you, and you get their response. They feel bad. You know how you do that in your head after someone hurt you, and it's hard to let go because you just keep going over it, and you can't believe they hurt you, and you're like, what did I do wrong? What did they do wrong? Well, we have so much judgment about that, and we just want to let that stuff go. Sometimes we just want to let go of those negative feelings and those hurt feelings. But because we judge ourselves for having them, we're kind of like keeping them. you know? So like, when we start thinking about it, like, oh, I'm thinking about that again. Why am I thinking about that again? And instead, if we were more understanding, this is where that self-compassion, this is a great practice for self-compassion. If whatever we were thinking, when we became aware that we were thinking that negatively, or that thinking of that event again, if we kiss our hands and touch our heart, just like that, I love this gesture because it's kind of throwing compassion at yourself. So whatever you're feeling and you become aware and you say, I understand why I feel that way. Like, I understand why it hurt. So instead of judging, you're doing the opposite. You're having self-compassion by touching your hand, and then you distract yourself. You just kind of go into the task at hand. And if it comes back into your mind, instead of saying, I didn't let it go, I thought I let it go, I didn't let it go, you do it again. You kiss your hand and you touch your heart. And I'd be very, very gentle, being like, oh yeah, I knew it would come back. I understand why I feel that way. You kiss your hand, touch your heart, and move on with your day. And that is an excellent practice for letting go of some of these feelings and learning how to have compassion for yourself. It could really change your life in a lot of ways.
Okay, so that is one of these great examples of a practice that you really have to remember to do it in the moment, because it's in that moment when you're thinking those negative things that you have to actually do the thing. So it's not like, oh, I just get up every morning and do this and it'll be okay.
Yes. And of course, there's those ritual practices that you should do every morning. I love journaling because sometimes meditation is hard for some people. If it is hard for you, I suggest that you do like guided meditations, because you get a story to kind of hook your mind to. But journaling is something, it's an activity, and there's just a lot of research on it, especially if you've been through trauma, or you're confused, you're trying to figure it out. Because when you write stuff down, you become a witness of yourself. It takes you back a little bit out of the chaos of what happens and helps you have another perspective of what's going on. And so if you wanted that daily ritual that you get up and do every morning, I would suggest grabbing a notebook that you do every day. Some people like just put 3 pages down every day, just get it all out. Sometimes you could do it around an event, or like, what's next? Or you could have some prompts for yourself, like, how do I get closer to my wisdom today, or something. But journaling is just something that could be for it could be for anyone. Anyone could do it. Making lists or writing in paragraphs, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's something that I often talk about. Just getting some writing done is always good. Jodi, we're moving into the segment called Superpowers for Success. And so I want to ask you a few questions. The first one is, what does success in life mean for you?
I think it means being content, being able to take risks, not being content that doesn't mean you're not taking risks. You're grabbing opportunities and adventures, not necessarily being attached to the outcome, but rejoicing in the good results when they happen and enjoying the ride, no matter what. Success in life for me is good relationships, making sure you surround yourself with people who lift you up, because I think that's the biggest key to a happy life, is having good people around you. And it's really important to me to make a difference to other people, to give back to my community, give back to my family, and myself too, like listening to my inner voice and, staying, bringing in things in my life that make me happy.
Yeah. Nice. When did you know you were really good at what you do?
Well, I will talk about psychotherapy. I think it's when I was in college, I remember my roommate was talking to a friend of hers, which I think was going through a breakup. I don't remember the problem at the time, but she was saying, you really have to talk to Jodi, my roommate Jodi, because she'll know what to tell you. And so it was a kind of a defining moment that people had noticed that I was someone who you could tell your problems to, and I could help you. And I started, I went to school for social work right after that, and you never turn back. I love it so much. I think it was, so I was quite young and realized that people just want people with them, holding their hand, walking through life with them. And the best thing you could do is be a witness for someone else's life, reflect back the good in them.
And was there a moment when you without someone telling you that you were good at what you do, that you knew, like that you felt it, you know, in your beings?
Well, there's probably like dozens and dozens of times. One that's coming to mind, and it's definitely not the first, I apologize, but one time, you know, dozens of times sitting with clients when they are having a huge transformational healing moment, that happens to me too. Like there's a huge transformational healing moment for me. And I remember this one time, this woman, we were actually sitting on the floor in my office because it was such a sacred and deeply painful story she was sharing about losing her daughter. And in my, I can't remember my responses or what exactly we were talking about, but I just remember both of us crying on the floor in my office. And what the hardships I was going through that week were completely gone. Like they were healed in that moment of healing her. And I felt like this is what is going to change the world, even in these little moments.
Love that. Okay. And Jodi, what is a personal habit that contributes to your well-being so that you can be and do all of the things that you do in the world?
I'm an avid reader. I'm like a student of life. I love to learn things. So I don't know if it's reading is the skill or it's just learning things in general. Because I also consume books by listening to audiobooks or I watch videos. But I think our brain and our spirit wants to learn. And so I will always continue to learn and keep myself charged up, happy, excited about life, moving. And embracing more and more. You know, the more I learn, the more I could change things or affect things or be part of it, I guess.
Yeah. And what superpower did you discover you had only to realize it was there all the time?
I'm looking at my notes here because I'm talking from I know I had something there. I think as a listener, I think of being a good listener, because that's what, you know, we talk so much and we talk at people so much. And I think a lot of times when I'm with girlfriends, so I'm not at work in my capacity as a therapist, and I'm with girlfriends and someone's talking about their life, the other women are jumping in and saying what happens in their life and, you know, jumping in too quickly. And I kind of wanted them to back off because it's time for us to be listening. This woman who's talking about her story really wants to share. I think that stands out that, you know, all along I had this superpower of being able to listen patiently, not try to fix things right away, knowing that people just need to be listened to. And I guess, yeah, I had it since I was quite little. I really listened. I stopped and observed and listened to people much, much more than I spoke. And I think I learned a lot about people that way.
Yeah, that's so interesting because it you know, people sort of underrate listening, I think. Sort of like, oh, listening, yeah, anybody can do that. But actually, it takes a lot of patience and focus to really listen and not be like constantly thinking about what you're going to say in response. So that's a really great one.
Yeah. When people start talking, we kind of fit it into the matrix of how we understand life. We're, you know, right away we're listening and kind of being like fitting it into how we get things. And if we just listen for a while longer and let that matrix of what that person is saying just unfold, then our minds, we could connect in ways that we would never be able to before, because we could really understand something from someone else's perspective. And I think it's really powerful.
Yeah. Okay, Jodi, what advice would you give your younger self, like 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Yeah, definitely not care. I know it's going to be cliche, but just not care what people think about you. You know, I think that we spend so long when we're young really caring what other people think. And as we get older, we realize that was a total waste of time. Not only a waste of time, but really caused a lot of suffering in our life.
Yeah, it's so interesting, though, because how do we actually empower younger people not to care, because it's sort of like we have to go through it in order to realize and learn from it. But how do we actually empower younger people to get there, faster, so they don't have to go through the pain of of caring what people think all that time?
Right. I think inviting them to be a witness again, like invite them outside the chaos of that story. Yes, they're still developing their prefrontal cortex. So there's some concepts they're not going to get, even if to their well into their 20s or well into their 30s, but still they could get it a little bit to their extent that they could get it. And it's important as early as they can. And so if they could see the story through somebody else, it's quite easier than seeing it through yourself, because you're kind of too close to it. Yeah. And so that helps. That's how I work with my daughter when I'm trying to help her with these tougher concepts, like what matters and what doesn't matter, and why people are mean, why people do the things they do, why she's responding the way she's responding. And, I help her see it through other people and what other people are doing. And that then she reflects and gets what she's doing. And that tends to help.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely having an adult that you can talk to that is able to reflect back. I mean, she's lucky that she has you to talk, about this stuff with. So yeah.
Yeah. Teenage girls, they just go through so much.
Well, and having a mentor, I think, is super important for young women, whether it's your mom or your aunts or just another trusted adult that you can bounce things off of. Okay, we're almost done with the questions. I have a couple more. Do you identify as a feminist?
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
It means that I believe that it's beneficial to have more balance between the feminine and the masculine energy in all people. And so because the feminine has been subjugated for so long, there needs to be a lifting up of the feminine energy. And so that's not necessarily just the female gender. It is part of it, but it's like the feminine energy in a lot of ways, like feminine characteristics, feminine personalities, those kind of things in men and women. It will really benefit and kind of rebalance the world a little bit more,
Yes, I so completely agree with that, because I think sometimes we focus, and I focused my whole career on like empowering women and doing a lot of things to really support women. And at the same time, I think it's super important to be supporting the feminine in men, so that men, feel like, because men are socialized to think they have to be, masculine and the breadwinner, and that they're a failure if they don't do all these things that society tells them they have to do. And I think if we, support men to embrace their feminine a little bit more, like we'd all be better off.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that way it goes for like corporations to bring out some more feminine energy. Schools and institutions we need to bring out. In the medical field, we want to bring out some more of that feminine energy. So I think it goes like in government maybe. Yeah. So.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Last question. What are you reading right now? What's on your nightstand?
I'm reading books about teen anxiety. It's research for my next book on teen anxiety.
Oh, okay. Do you have any one in particular that you want to share?
It is called, I'm so terrible because it's a research book.
That's okay. We can include it in the show notes if you want to share it afterwards.
The anxiety survival guide for teens.
Oh, okay. Cool. The Anxiety Survival Guide for Teens.
Yeah.
And this is part of your research for your next book.
Yes.
Very cool. Okay. Well, Jodi, it's been a pleasure talking to you on the Well Woman Show today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks
it's been
for
a pleasure.
Being here. Thanks. That's it for our show today. Remember, if you need support to live your Well Woman life, head over to wellwomanlife.com/Facebook to join us. Our monthly live event, Well Woman Drinks, brings women together to share our successes and challenges as women, leaders, moms, aunts, sisters, and all the other roles we carry. If you'd like to attend a Well Woman Drinks near you, or if there isn't one in your city yet and you'd like to start one, email info@wellwomanlife.com. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment and subscribe in iTunes and leave a review. This helps raise visibility, which is super helpful when it comes to producing the show every week. For feedback, comments, or just to let me know you were listening today, find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram @WellWomanLife. I'm Giovanna Rossi for The Well Woman Show. Until next time, have a super powerful week.